in Tennessee, I think, is also pertinent both to the
Yes.
conversations around evolution, but also what we were talking about earlier today. Nick, welcome to the show.
Greetings. How's it going?
It's going well. What can we help you with today?
So like it says, I just wanted to talk about possible changes we as a community would like to see in the education system moving forward with the new administration and everything.
Yeah. Where do we start?
Yeah.
I think FFRF, Freedom from Religion Foundation, is doing a really good job of kind of holding that line in the legal sense. And I think that if anybody is interested in helping us get to a place where the public school system takes it more seriously, the separation of church and state, better sex education, better science education, one thing we could certainly do is help to fund what FFRF does. So plugging that there. Otherwise, a lot of this tends to feels like a cop out, and it feels like too much to ask in some ways. But I think honestly, the thing that's going to change is for atheists and skeptics to get into childcare and get into the schools and teach. And you don't have to be out, you don't have to be outspoken, you don't have to be an activist, but if you are somebody who is science-minded and rational, and you appreciate being able to give accurate information to kids, it might be worth checking out whether or not you could actually contribute through your work. So those are two ways that I can see just right off the bat. Make sure you're donating to people who are actually doing the work of enforcing these legal restrictions, and also get involved yourself in whatever way you can. Viced, I'm curious what your thoughts are here.
Yeah. Well, living in Canada, I actually live in a system where our tax dollars can go to pay for Catholic schools as well as public schools. In Canada, we don't really have the same separation of church and state that they do in the States. But we also seem to do a better job of it somehow, though. Like I've very rarely have I heard of cases in, well, Ontario, at least. Alberta is another matter, but very rarely do I hear of cases where students are being proselytized to in the classroom that's not an actual Catholic school. And, I say our tax dollars go to support Catholic schools. You actually get to choose whether you support the Catholic school or the public school when you start paying property taxes. So it could be better, but it also could be worse. But yeah, I definitely would love to see religion just relegated to a religion class where it's not taught as fact, but like in comparison with, like, okay, this is the Christian religion and this is Islam and this is Hinduism, and there are lots more, and it's also perfectly valid to not have a religion. I don't know, that feels like a pie in the sky idea sometimes.
It could be a very interesting class in history or social studies, for example.
Yeah.
Seems like it would fit into that curriculum flawlessly, But
Yeah.
I guess if you preach it, or if you teach it as like historical fact, then it would upset the people that believe it is religious. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, one thing that could be done as well, which is kind of an indirect way to go about things. I know for me, I went to school at a Christian college, but at the same time I was being indoctrinated, I was also being taught how to do research, how to think critically, how to be unbiased, because I had a journalism degree. And so what actually ended up happening was the things I was learning in my journalism degree actually impacted how I was receiving the information in the Bible classes and the theology classes and chapels. So one thing we could try to do and trying to push forward is getting critical thinking taught in schools, right? Getting things like Logic 101, that kind of thing involved in schools, so that kids are at least being exposed to this other kind of thinking and being told what constitutes a good argument versus a bad one. So, one option could be just pushing in that direction, because you'd have to be pretty okay with being painted as a bad person if you're like, no, I don't want to teach kids how to think critically. Then you're just showing your hand, right?
Right.
So that could be an option.
What what I guess class or category of classes would that fall under? Would it be a science or like a social studies? Or would it just have to be its own thing?
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it would be determined by the individual school system and what their curriculum looked like. But yeah, Nick, honestly, if you want to make the biggest difference right away with the least amount of effort, donation is always the way to go, to the right people. Right, to the right people, the right organizations that are proven that they are doing this thing. But other than that, also voting, making sure that you are aware of who is running for what in your city, in your state government, and also nationally. But honestly, national doesn't make as much of a difference as who is being voted for in your town, in your city, in your state, in your county. So making sure that you're aware of that as well. Is really everything that we can ask of any individual, and anything beyond that is your decision to take on and champion.
Cool. Awesome. I guess my last question would be, if we do start to implement changes as a society in our public school system, what then happens when parents decide to start homeschooling their kids, right? Like, my parents already decided that they're pulling out of the school system entirely and homeschooling all theirs. So, like, do you think the government has a obligation to intervene there?
Now, I used to homeschool my kids, so I have a bit of insight in the homeschooling thing. Now, firstly, it's not something that everyone is even capable of doing. So the idea that kids would be leaving the schools en masse, I think that's a bit of an unfounded fear. But I would really like to see some regulation going on with regards to what kids are taught in the homeschool. Like, if you're being taught at home, then yeah, sure, your parents have a right to teach you about religion, but they should also be teaching you like the real stuff. And if your religion conflicts with science, sorry, science wins. Like, you need to figure out a way to fit science into your religion, not the other way around. Or no, so, yeah, I had that backwards.
Watch them clip that and just nail you with it. Yeah, Nick, I was raised homeschooled, and I was not taught science. I was not taught many things that I should have been. One way to make sure that even if people are being homeschooled, they are still getting the actual. Pennsylvania was actually pretty good about that. They had CAT tests, CATs, that you took every couple of years and then sent in to make sure that you were like up to par with other kids in your grade. You had yearly evaluations with an evaluator who was state authorized to come in and make sure that you were getting what you needed and, not in an abusive situation. So there are ways to regulate to make sure that people get more information, but I had all of that, and I still was massively undereducated in areas where I needed to be, especially in areas like science and history. I think we're going to move on to the next call, Nick, but this is an awesome conversation to continue to have, and I want to thank you for bringing it up today.
Definitely. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for calling in. All right, so Mike is back, and I really want to talk to Mike, so stay on the line, Mike. But first, we are going to thank the patrons, and we are also going to thank our anonymous YouTube donor who donated $500 to us during this show, and to everyone else who got us up to $666 in donations right now. I am very pleased with that. I like that a lot. All right.
You don't have to stop just because it's at a nice number.
Right. Let's get to 777 just for the irony. All right. So I have refreshed our Patreon page, and our top 5 patrons are Eric Tweet, Dingleberry Jackson, Desert Heathen, Bethany P, and Marry Me V. Well, thank you for the donation and the proposal. Let's see how many weeks you stay at the top of the list, and we'll consider it. But also shout out to Paul, Leah, and Balaam's Donkey, of course, as the runners up. Oh, that's funny. Okay, cool. All right. Thanks, everybody. It's your donations that keep us running, that keep us being able to reach out to other people, to share our perspective in a world that really doesn't appreciate it very often, and to hear from you. So thanks for everything that you continue to give. We appreciate you.